વિરાજમાન હતા અને સર્વે શ્વેત વસ્ત્ર ધારણ કર્યા હતા ને કંઠને વિશે મોગરાના પુષ્પનો હાર પહેર્યો હતો ને પાઘને વિશે મોગરાના પુષ્પનો તોરો ધારણ કર્યો હતો ને પોતાના મુખારબિંદની આગળ પરમહંસ તથા દેશ દેશના હરિભક્તની સભા ભરાઈને બેઠી હતી. પછી મુક્તાનંદ સ્વામીએ સૈજી મહારાજને પ્રશ્ન પૂછ્યો છે, હે મહારાજ, ભગવાનને વિશે અચળ નિષ્ઠાવાળા જે ભક્ત હોય તેને કોઈ જાતનો વિક્ષેપ આડો આવે કે ન આવે? પછી સૈજી મહારાજ બોલ્યા છે, એક તો યોગ નિષ્ઠા છે ને બીજી સાંખ્ય નિષ્ઠા છે. તેમાં યોગ નિષ્ઠાવાળો જે ભગવાનનો ભક્ત તે ભગવાનના સ્વરૂપમાં પોતાની અખંડ વૃત્તિ રાખે અને સાંખ્ય નિષ્ઠાવાળો જે ભગવાનનો ભક્ત તે તો મનુષ્યના સુખ તથા સિદ્ધ, ચારણ, વિદ્યાધર, ગંધર્વ, દેવતા એ સર્વેના જે સુખ તેને સમજી રાખે તથા 14 લોકની માહેલી કોરે જે સુખ છે તે સર્વનું પરિમાણ કરી રાખે છે. આ સુખ તે આટલું જ છે અને એ સુખની કેળે જે દુઃખ રહ્યું છે તેનું પણ પરિમાણ કરી રાખે. પછી દુઃખે સહિત એવા જે સુખ તે થકી વૈરાગ્યને પામીને પરમેશ્વરને વિશે જ દૃઢ પ્રીતિ રાખે. એવી રીતે સાંખ્ય નિષ્ઠાવાળાને તો સમજણનું બળ હોય અને યોગ નિષ્ઠાવાળાને તો ભગવાનના સ્વરૂપમાં અખંડ વૃત્તિ રાખવી તેનું જ બળ હોય. પણ કોઈક વિષય દેશકાળાદિકને વિષમ દેશકાળાદિકને યોગ્ય કરીને કોઈક વિક્ષેપ આવે તો ભગવાનના સ્વરૂપમાં વૃત્તિ રહેતી હોય તે કાંઈક બીજે પણ ચોંટી જાય. કેમ જે યોગ નિષ્ઠાવાળાને સમજણનું બળ થોડું હોય માટે કોઈક વિઘ્ન થઈ જાય ખરું. અને સાંખ્ય નિષ્ઠા અને યોગ નિષ્ઠા એ બે જો એકને વિશે હોય તો પછી કાંઈ વાંધો જ ન રહે. અને એવો જે ભગવાનનો ભક્ત હોય તે તો ભગવાનની મૂર્તિ વિના બીજા કોઈ પદાર્થમાં લોભાય જ નહીં અને એમ સમજે જે ભગવાનનું જે અક્ષરધામ ને તે ધામને વિશે રહી એવી જે ભગવાનની મૂર્તિ ને તે ધામને વિશે રહ્યા એવા જે ભગવાનના ભક્ત તે વિના જે લોક છે ને તે લોકને વિશે રહ્યા એવા જે દેવ છે ને તે દેવના જે વૈભવ છે તે સર્વનાશવંત છે એમ જાણીને એક ભગવાનને વિશે જ દૃઢ પ્રીતિ રાખે છે. માટે એવા ભક્તને તો કોઈ જાતનો વિક્ષેપ આવતો નથી. ઇતિ વચનામૃત મધ્ય 24 ની જય.
Ghadhada middle 24, resoluteness in Sankhya and in Yoga, Shoko Patlo. On Shravan Sudi 8, Samvat 1879, July 26, 1822, Swami Sri Sajanandji Maharaj arrived at Lakshmiwadi on horseback from Dada Kach's Darbar in Ghadhada. There he sat facing north upon the platform, dressed entirely in white clothes. He was wearing a garland of mogra flowers around his neck and a tassel of mogra flowers was also inserted in his bag. At that time, an assembly of Paramhansas as well as devotees from various places had gathered before him. Thereupon Muktanand Swami asked Sriji Maharaj, Maharaj, does a devotee who has resolute conviction in God experience any hindrance or not? Sriji Maharaj replied, a devotee may be resolute in two ways. One is by being resolute in yoga, and the other is by being resolute in Sankhya. Of these, a devotee who is resolute in yoga keeps his vritti constantly fixed on the form of God. A devotee who is resolute in Sankhya understands the extent of human pleasures, as well as the extent of the pleasures of the realized yogis, charans, vidyadhars, Gandharvas, devs, etc. In addition, he appraises the pleasures of the 14 realms and believes these pleasures are only so much. Moreover, he also appraises the miseries that subsequently follow those pleasures. As a result, he develops vairagya towards those misery-filled pleasures and thereby maintains profound love only for God. So such a person who is resolute in Sankhya possesses the strength of understanding. In comparison, the strength of one who is resolute in yoga is based only on keeping his vritti constantly on the form of God. If he were to encounter some disturbances due to adverse circumstances, then although his vritti was originally fixed on God's form, it would become attached elsewhere as well. This is because one who is resolute in yoga somewhat lacks the strength of understanding. Thus, it is possible that such a devotee may well experience hindrance. However, if one is resolute in both Sankhya and Yoga, then there would be no problem whatsoever. Such a devotee of God is never enticed by any object other than the form of God. He realizes, with the exception of God's Akshardham, the form of God in that Akshardham, and his devotees in that Akshardham, everything else, all of the realms, the devs, the opulence of the devas, is perishable. Realizing this, he maintains profound love only for God. Such a devotee never experiences any sort of hindrance whatsoever. Thus ends Vachanamrut Ghadhada Middle 24. Sajanand Swami Maharaj Ni Jai.
I was thinking, કે તમારે થોડી વાત કરવી હોય તો વચનામૃતમાં, હા? What do you conclude? થોડીક કરો. નાનું છે ને ઈઝી છે ને. આ થોડુંક બોલે તો સારું ને. નહીં, આપણે બી શ્રોતા બનવાનું ને. If your throat is okay, if it is not okay, maybe Surat Bhai and Vijay Bhai also, if comfortable. Okay. What happened?
The morning Sabha?
Yeah, we did that.
So I thought I could go over those notes once. Um, in this Vachanamrut, we talked that Yoga Nishta. Yoga Nishta means one who is united with God and one who has love and affection of God. Yog means gunav. Gunav, I think you said this week. Yog means to stay close. Yog means love and affection for Bhagwan and the devotee.
So what is guna?
I was gonna, I put a note. I didn't know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you said? Guna, something. I had to go back and listen. But when I heard it, it sounded like that again. And in the first paragraph, it mentioned that in this time, Swami Bhagwan was in Ghadhada and went to the Lakshmi Vadi, and there was a Vedi who performs yagnas, and on that Vedi, Bhagwan gave this discourse. And it was also the month of Shravan. And then when Muktanand Swami had asked the question that, Maharaj, does a devotee who has resolute conviction in God experience any hindrances or not? And hindrance means attachment to God and his devotees. If someone has a firm or resolute conviction, would there be any hindrance or not? Hindrance is like Maya, or an illusion. Even in Sankhya or Yognishta, if someone does not have the full-fledged Sankhya or Yognishta, then the hindrances come. Even if someone has full Yognishta, it is not a full chapter because the Sankhya Nishta is not there. So the same way, if they have complete Sankhya but not full Yognishta, it is not complete. If someone is very wealthy, then they don't have a problem of comforts or amenities. But if they are physically sick, they are not capable of enjoying the amenities. So what is the value of the money? It's not going to be much. On the other hand, if someone is very healthy but does not have money to enjoy, then he is not going to be happy. We need both, amenities and health. And then there's one example that there's also inner peace of mind following our principles in, Shiksha Patri, non-violence, etc. And when Bhagwan talks about being resolute, and then he says, the devotee who is resolute in Sankhya understands the extent of human pleasures as well as the extent of the pleasures of the realized yogis, charans, vidyadhars, gandharvas, deities, etc. In addition, he appraises the pleasures of the 14 realms and believes these pleasures are only so much. Moreover, he also appraises the miseries that subsequently follow those pleasures. As a result, he develops vairagya towards those misery-filled pleasures, and thereby maintains profound love only for God. So such a person who is resolute in Sankhya possesses the strength of understanding. And the Uncle mentioned that what is the form of God? Is it just the two eyes, the two hands, the two legs? Is that the form of God? Excuse me. Yes, it is a form, but there's also another form of God, which is the qualities and the nature of God. The humbleness, helping nature, pious nature, and these are all qualities found in the swarups of Bhagwan. And then there's another level that we know that is, we only know maybe limited magnanimity of God. Then we would realize God in a totally different way by the grace of God and Gunatit saints. And we just like when we see the picture of God, we see God in the same picture of God that we see, in a idol or murti or photo, we would begin to see in everything, pictures, even devotees, you would even see in mountains, rocks, trees. So everywhere you would see God, God, God. And then, the devotee would not have attachment to anything other than God. So the other way, to think of that is that if everything is God, then he is attached to everything in a very elevated way, not a worldly way. And that is Yognishta. Now he is attached to the Gunatit Swarup too, but with who is the manifestation of God. So when he sees God in his Guru, in the saint, this is a very elevated stage. Otherwise, we'd become succumb to Maya. We would say, yes, we do see God in, this and that, but we would not really understand and we would not really see it in that same elevated way. In Ghadhada first, the number 1, it states that you should focus on God. And it says, Swarupanand Swami was totally united with his chit. Gopalanand Swami was totally united with buddhi. Kakaji said, that's not all, you have to go total, full-fledged. That is Yognishta. Even there is no rock, our vritti would manifest the form of God. Means no idol, or no stamurti. Sometimes we see that in dream state or even in excitement, that our vritti would manifest the form of God. And the Dingar uncle had mentioned how this week, the Chakinba uncle in Paris, and he was not, or he had come from that, he had woken up, I guess, out of that, sleep from the medication, and he was trying to communicate something, and the family was trying to understand what was it. So they gave him a pen and paper. He could not talk because he had tubes in his mouth and nose, and so he kept trying to communicate. So they gave him a pen and paper, and he wrote in Gujarati, which only his wife could read. So she read the note. It said, Bhagwan, Swami and Bhagwan and Kakaji are sitting. Why are you all not bowing down? So Uncle was saying that anybody can get at that level of excitement. It can happen. That, some people could see a lion or a tiger. Some people could see a snake. Some might see, a very angry form of the deity. And, and some people would see in a motherly way. But in yoga, we have many manifestations. But without guidance or guru, we would get disturbed and unhappy. And then Bhagwan, talks about that, in comparison, the strength of one who is resolute in yoga is based only on keeping his vritti constantly on the form of God. If he were to encounter some disturbances due to adverse circumstances, then although his vritti was originally fixed on God's form, it would become attached elsewhere as well. This is because one who is resolute in yoga somewhat lacks the strength of understanding. Thus, it is possible that such a devotee may well experience hindrances. And so this is the drawback of Yognishta, that it has this attaching quality or nature to it, but if it doesn't attach to God, then it becomes a problem. And then Bhagwan says that if one is resolute in both Sankhya and Yoga, then there would be no problems whatsoever. And Dingar uncle had said that, that at that point, that person knows the limits of all the happinesses, as a human being, the duality, I guess, of the happiness, and even knows the limits of being a higher level soul, like a siddha, a devata, a demigod, etc. They are all limited in the happiness. And within all the 14 abodes, whatever the happiness, it is all limited and temporary. But if the devotee says, I don't want any of that, I just want God, it is very difficult to practice. We may be very talented and educated, but when it comes to ourselves, we would be failing miserably. And then the uncle had given this example of this Swami from Rajkot. He was giving discourses from the Shiksha Patri, and it said, he said, our devotees should not indulge in sense gratification. There are certain things we have to do to sustain ourselves. Like if we are hungry, then we have to eat. But we should not enjoy what we're eating. We just have to be witness or neutral and not interested in do it. So Det Swami had given this nice discourse from the Shiksha Patri and said that if we had nice food in our dish, don't enjoy and lick your fingers, just eat it for the sake of eating. So afterwards, everybody was eating in the hall, and then that Swami was passing by. And one devotee had his whole plate filled with bateta vada. So Swami saw that this is really unusual, because this guy had this whole plate full of bateta vada, but he was eating with a very sad face. So Swami stopped there and said, "This is very unusual. You have this bateta vada and you are eating it with a sad face. Is there any problem?" So the devotee said with folded hands that I'm eating bateta vada and not enjoying. Oh no, he said, I'm eating my bateta vada and enjoying, but I'm keeping my sad face. So we don't want to do that. That is the message. Siddhananda Swami Maharaj.
तो एक बात करो बेटा.
સજાન સ્વામી મહારાજની જય. આ વચનામૃતમાં સાંખ્ય, what is Sankhya, that it explains, knowing the relative quality, the relative value of everything, and having proportionate detachment from that. And talks about yoga, which is contemplating and continuously being in tune with God. And God talks about the drawbacks of just Sankhya and just yoga, and talks about how someone with Sankhya and yoga both will basically have a satsang journey without any obstacles. And I was thinking that for us, we neither have perfected, let me just talk of myself, not perfect Sankhya. It's not that, we know the relative value of everything. So there is always this કોકને કોઈક કલ્પના રહી જતી હોય, or you don't know, or you are not sure, and that's why we will have superficial distance. We will because of the satsang niyams and because of what God has told us, we'll have the superficial niyams and distance with it. But still, because the Sankhya is not perfect, we haven't understood, we have not known the futility of it, because Sankhya એટલું કાચું છે. On the other hand, the yoga part is also not perfect, in the sense that we have not become so in so much crazier, or so much in love, or so much of fantasy for God and Guru, that we are totally tuned with them. Like Kakaji used to say that જેવું નાચનારીને તબલાવાળા સાથે હોય, she is totally in tune with how the guy who is a dancer is totally in tune with the guy who is playing the instruments. That's by profession, or that's by art, or that's by practice. So we have either by lack of love, or lack of practice, or lack of maturity, we're still not there. So our state is a little bit different than what Vachanamrut is explaining, that if you have perfect Sankhya, still there is some deficiency, and there's perfect yoga, there's deficiency. But we are in the middle. We have Sankhya પણ અડધું છે, યોગ પણ અડધું છે. And So I was thinking of that, you know, okay, well, this Vachanamrut, as you said, is short, but it's very hard to master. You know? But in general, Dingas explained that the answer to every Vachanamrut is we can find in Swamini Vato or, you know, Raghunath Swarup's talks, you know. And there is this talk on which Dingas often talks about is the Chilla Prakarani Chilli Vat. And maybe I'll read that. An aspirant engages in discourses, sings bhajans, and talks about God, but does not believe I am not this body. Therefore, 24 hours a day, remember, I am not the body, but I am the Atma, who lives in the body. Therefore, 24 hours, remember that I am not the body, but I am the Atma, who lives in the Atma. I am Brahma, Akshar, and within me, Purushottam Parmeshwar, Paramatma Parmeshwar Purushottam himself is eternally present. What is he like? He is the cause of all avatars, the cause of all causes, and is above all. And his manifest form is the one I have attained. In this statement, both Sankhya and Yoga are incorporated. આ વસ્તુમાં સ્વામી એમ કહે છે કે ફર્સ્ટ ઓફ ઓલ કે આપણે દેહ નથી. That feeling we probably have, you know, કે દેહભાવમાં maybe 100% આત્મભાવમાં we maybe not be able to act or, you know, stay. પણ એક અંડરસ્ટેન્ડિંગ પ્રમાણે કન્વિક્શન છે કે યસ વી આર નોટ the body, you know, we are actually the soul within the body. So that's at least the first step is there. સ્વામી કીધું કે આ વિચાર છે તેટલો વિચાર પાકો છે પહેલો વિચાર. અને જો એ 100% પાકો થઈ જાય then the whole thing is covered. But to a big extent that is by understanding is understood. In this, there is no imagination required, I guess. And that some sort of conviction is there, some sort of, because of all being in satsang, with Dingar uncle, staying with Dingar uncle, all the katha varta, a gnan somehow has become solid, you know, that we are the soul and not the atma. And the second step Swami is saying is that I am the resider of the body, I am Akshar and I am Brahm. Now, so from a soul level, Swami is elevating the soul. You know, just by definition, knowing that, you know, there is a car and a driver, and now we say, okay, this driver is X and Y Z person, and this driver is now, you know, of this caliber, and, you know, this driver is, by the way, a NASCAR driver or an Indy driver or like one of the skilled drivers, you know. So, Swami, you're saying that to identify ourselves as one of the top level drivers, as Akshar, a driver who is has the qualities of Ghadhada Swami or Akshar Brahm, you know, or as Gunatith saints. That's the level of driver we are, and that's where it's now a tangible process. Now, you know, okay, so now we know that, okay, I believe I'm a soul, but I do not have the qualities of the Akshar Brahm level, or the Gunatith સંતને એવી ક્વોલિટીઝ હજુ છે નહીં. સ્વામી સેઝ નેક્સ્ટ લેવલ કે એમાં એ અક્ષરનું ક્વોલિટીમાં ફર્સ્ટ ક્વોલિટી સ્વામી સેઇંગ ઇઝ દેટ ધી પરાત્પર પુરુષોત્તમ પરબ્રહ્મ ઇઝ રિસાઇડિંગ વિથિન that akshar. That is the first quality of that soul, that it is completely empowered by Purushottam, as opposed to soul being empowered by its own previous births, programs, and that's how it's running. Now this soul of Akshar, who has reached to the level of Akshar, is empowered and controlled by Purushottam. So that's the first quality that Swami is stating. And then Swami is saying that કે એ જે પુરુષોત્તમ છે એ મને મળ્યા જે સ્વરૂપ પ્રત્યક્ષ સ્વરૂપ તે છે. So let me read that again. I'm Akshar, and within me Paramatma Parmeshwar Purushottam himself is eternally present. And what is he like? He is the cause of all avatars, the cause of all causes, and is above all. Now normally that's I was just talking to Brahmi Ben couple of last week, I guess. This definition of God, the omnipotent, all power, omniscient, is like a 10,000-year-old definition and never changed. I mean, it's not got any more depth in it. It's in one sense, because you just say, okay, it's something fantastic, and just that's where you just stop your imagination and intellect, And so I was saying, like, I was reading some article in physics, and how they were trying to relate physics with spirituality, and so I mean, that's is very interesting, because it at least gives us a little bit more, definition of the supreme power. Science is probably one way to know God more in the language, in the terms that we understand more. Right now, it's if left at a more fascination level, and maybe because we don't understand it, and and for all the reasons. But I was saying that's the definition is 10,000 years old, and probably we need a more deeper definition, just my own wish, So that's so Bhagwan is saying that, Swami is saying that he is the cause of all avatars, the cause of all causes, and is above all. And his manifest form is the one I have attained. And this is the key to come to that realization that the supreme, omnipotent, and all-knowing and all-powerful God is, I've attained that God through the Swarup I have met. That is the key that Swami is saying. When we understand that basically completes our Sankhya and Yoga. And the easiest and the best way, I think, and the only way, I guess, is to continuously remain in his association. Inu Sevan, inu Darshan, inu Vatu, inu Samagam. That's the means of knowing how God is manifest within the Gunatit Saint, and it's also the means of knowing the true nature of God, or the true glory of God. So, if we take that Vachanamrut and we talk about withdrawing from all the different sense pleasures, that may become too hard, because by just understanding it, maybe not even possible. We may be just fooling ourselves or something like that. And by just to be continuously tuned with that God that you've never seen, in one way, is also going to be very, it may not be totally possible for everyone, I guess. But what is possible is actually to remain in association with the Gunatit Saint, and that's very tangible in one sense. And so that's what Swami is saying, that ke pratyaksh Gunatit Saranthana sabandhમાં રહીએ એના જોગમાં રહીએ અને એમ માનીને કે જે પુરુષોત્તમ ભગવાન જેને પામવાના છે એ અહીંયા જ વિરાજમાન છે. Maybe I may not believe it in day one, but I come with that faith that he is here, Or one thing is actually knowing, believing, is at all different levels of knowledge. When you come with faith that okay, there is God here, then you actually see God. That is actually, then you have some one level of realization that you've seen God. Then you know God, or that okay, મને ભગવાનનો અમુક અંશનું અમુક રીતનું કંઈક જ્ઞાન થયું છે. And then to realize God, that ભગવાનનું પૂરું જ્ઞાન થયું છે. So that comes, we come with faith that ભગવાન અહીંયા ઘડી છે, and then it ends in a complete realization of God. And Swami says it ends in actually, when the realization happens, it actually ends in ભગવાન પોતે તમારામાં બેસી જાય. So that's all remains, and all possible by remaining in association with the Gunatit Saint. And that's what Swami is saying, that come with that faith and stay with the Gunatit Saint, and એમાં Sankhya and Yoga બેવ પૂરા થશે. That was my understanding.
Very good.
So, yeah.
સાંખ્ય અને યોગની ગરમી આવી ગઈ. જેકેટ કાઢી નાખ્યું, ગરમી આવી ગઈ સાંખ્ય અને યોગની. સરસ. સુરતભાઈને કહું કે
Sajan Swami Maharaj Nijay. I was actually thinking along the same lines as Pintu Bhai that with both Sankhya and Yoga, that chapter 1, the last vat. But at least in this Vachanamrut, the Maharaj was focusing more on Sankhya. To develop the understanding that the human pleasures, but if it's Sankhya, it wouldn't be really a pleasure, it would be something else. But what the human thinks are pleasures, or the human body. And to understand the miseries that are associated with that. And yoga is more it's kind of like two types of, there's two types of convictions that the Maharaj was saying, that in Sankhya, it's a thought process that this is bad, I don't like, this is not good, Maharaj is better. So in the worldly pleasure, we push them down or kick them away or refuse them. In yoga, with so much yoga, so much love and affection for God, His saints, and His devotees, that it's the worldly pleasures or everything else slowly drops off. And Maharaj pointed out that if circumstances or situations come, then you still need that understanding that worldly pleasures and all that is not still good, because sometimes I feel like
another. આપણે ભાવેશને જ્યારે પેલા ઇસ્યુ થતા હતા ને, એના મમ્મી એક અંકલને લઈને અહીંયા લાવતા હતા, ખબર છે? He passed away. Series of news, eh? Yeah. અરે સાંખ્ય ચાલે છે.
So in yoga, sometimes there's so much love and affection for God, the Gunatit saint, and the devotee, that if there is a liking, that gets kind of pushed under the rug. And also, in the Vachanamrut, Maharaj only shows the drawback of yoga, not Sankhya. So, there is, I'm not sure if there is drawbacks, then Grandpa can explain, but at least in this Vachanamrut, Maharaj has specifically pointed out the drawbacks of yoga to focus more on Sankhya. And obviously, to even the higher understanding would be both, to have Sankhya and yoga, because with those two together, then that conviction would be perfect. And not, and also that's something in this one thing Maharaj explains that once that's there, then that devotee only likes God's Akshardham, Dham, the God of that Akshardham, Dhami, and his devotees of the Akshardham, Mukta. And everything else is nothing, it's perishable. So, with that understanding of Sankhya and Yoga, every Dham, Dhami, Mukta is the only thing or only focus. And with that, all the other pleasures or all the other stuff is just nothing. And this is the only, that's all that we want. So we pray that we have both Sankhya and Yoga in Granko, and we only keep Dham, Dhami, Mukta in the center.
Very, very good observation, beta. વિજયભાઈને કેવું છે થોડું ગુજરાતીમાં whatever, બેટા.
સજાનંદ સ્વામી મહારાજ. Well, the Muktan Swamino જે question હતું તેમાં I was thinking કે the question itself is કે ભગવાનને વિશે અચળ નિષ્ઠાવાળા જે ભક્તો હોય તો I was making two different and chળ like separate thinking, so it's like maybe નિષ્ઠા આવે છે ને જાય છે બી ખરી, so it's not steady નિષ્ઠા thing, but નિષ્ઠા તો છે પણ મે બી જો જ્યારે કામ થાય છે તો નિષ્ઠા છે ને મે બી કામ નથી થતું તો ઇઝ અપ એન્ડ ડાઉન. સો આઈ થિંકિંગ કે જો એવા ભક્તો થયા જ હોય દેન આઈ વોઝ સો જો મહારાજ એવા જો ભક્ત થયા હોય કે ખરેખરી પ્રીતિ થઈ હોય કે એવો નિષ્ઠા જો પાકી દ્રઢ થાય તો આઈ થિંક આઈ વોઝ રિમેમ્બરિંગ કે આપણે હમણાં ન્યૂ જર્સી શિબિરમાં ગયા હતા તો સ્વામીજીને સુવર્ણ તુલા થઈ તો સ્વામીજી he was explaining the પ્રથમ 27 કે કે જો એવી સમજણ થાય ખાલી સમજણ જ થાય તો બી જો મહારાજ પોતે સર્વોપરી પ્રકારે એમના થકી એમનામાં નિવાસ કરીને રહે. સો લાઈક ખાલી સમજણથી જ જો એવું કામ થઈ જતું હોય અને અહીંયા તો એમ કહે છે કે પૂરેપૂરો સમર્પિત છે એમ એવું નિષ્ઠા એવું મહારાજ પાસે એવી થઈ ગઈ છે એમ. તો આઈ થિંક એ તો પછી there is no question. I mean for me if I take my side I don't keep a logic or anything. Mine is totally, the faith and hardware thing. So, કોઈ બી એવું નિષ્ઠા થાય તો પછી I don't think that there is any question or anything, because I generally don't have any question come up, because I know કે કરતા હરતા આપ છો જેમ તો અને again it's not karta harta, is only karta karta, but so I don't know any other how to put it, but all I understand કે જો એવું નિષ્ઠા થઈ જ હોય so there is no other question કે કે એવું કોઈ વિષય આવે છે કે નથી આવતું કે ઇવન ધો ઇફ ધી કમિંગ દેન મે બી પોતાનો ગુરુ હોય કે પોતાનો જે મહારાજ એના પ્રત્યે એવી નિષ્ઠા થઈ હોય that ફોર ધ ટેસ્ટ આઈ ગેન કે કે તમે તો બી કેવી નિષ્ઠા રહેશે કે whatever. That's I thinking. I mean, because for me it's very easy કે જો એવી નિષ્ઠા થઈ હોય તો I don't think there is no other question.
Right. ભગવાન છેલ્લે સ્ટેટમેન્ટ એ જ કરે છે કે જેને એવી નિષ્ઠા થઈ હોય એને ખાલી 3 તત્વો જ રહ્યા હોય, ધામ ધામીને મુક્ત, બીજું કશું રહ્યું જ ના હોય એને. Those are the 3 entities which are forever, Yogi Baba was saying આત્મા અને પરમાત્મા, 2 તત્વો બાકી વધે. Nothing else is there, So what Surat Bhai was saying, that why Swaminarayan Bhagavan talked drawback of yoga, and not the drawback of Sankhya. આ વચનામૃતમાં સાંખ્યની ડ્રોબેક નથી વાત કરી, યોગની ડ્રોબેકની વાત કરીશ. તમે બેસો તો પર ખુરશી બેટા, એટલે ખુરશી બેસાય એનો. વચનામૃતમાં યોગ નિષ્ઠાવાળો હોય એને કંઈક ખામી રહી જાય એની વાત ભગવાને મૂકી, સાંખ્ય નિષ્ઠાવાળાની વાત નહીં મૂકી. સાથે
મોટાભાગે બધા મહારાજને યોગ નિષ્ઠાવાળા વધારે હશે કારણ કે ભગવાનને બધા જોડાયેલા બધા ભગવાનના
majority was Yoga Nishtha. Gunatitanand Swami is Sankhya Nishtha. And Yoga Nishtha both, but Gunatitanand Swami is predominant Sankhya Nishtha, આખી સ્વામીની વાતો છે બધી સાંખ્ય નિષ્ઠા ઉપરની જ વાતો છે. પણ ગુણાતીતાનંદ સ્વામી has united with God that nobody has united, right?
Yoga is fine, perfect.
Right. So, in some devotees, it starts with Yoga Nishtha and ends up with Sankhya Nishtha. In some devotees, it starts with Sankhya Nishtha and ends with Yoga Nishtha. And in some devotees, both starts, and ends with Sankhya Nishtha and Yoga Nishtha together. Both in the sense, they are all equal level, Normally, somebody who has Yoga Nishtha would have Sankhya Nishtha also somewhat, But the ratio would be 90-10, But when if the, level is like 50-50, and not 50 in the sense that other 50 is deficient 50, but they are, let's say, 100 and 100, Beho, 100 and 100 hoy, That is Gunatitanand Swami, But for the devotees who have come to Gunatitanand Swami, Swami is seeing the deficiency in Sankhya Nishtha. And that is why he is talking a lot to solidify the Sankhya Nishtha. Those who have come from the worldly activities to Junagadh Mandir, or those who are even staying in Junagadh Mandir, but have no total focus on Gunatitanand Swami and no total discrimination on other things are many, And that's how normal beginning is, That's how it happens, that's how it works, But when somebody has that kind of understanding, a very solid Sankhyanistha, then the Yoganistha will come naturally, I had one-on-one with Swamiji, Hariprasad Swamiji, and he was mentioning same thing, that whenever he talks to the Bano, his talk is only Sankhyanistha. Whenever he talks to the Santo related with, Bano and Bayo, he talks only Sankhyanistha. And then he was saying there are other groups, where there is only Yoganistha, very little Sankhyanistha. And Yoganistha will have magnanimity also, Maimani bhi, Vatoganitha, But if only Yoganistha is there, only Mahatma is there, then there is a risk of falling down, That was Swamiji was telling, which made very good sense. એથી આગળ બીજું અક્ષર વિહારી સ્વામી, when he came many years ago, and we were in the Waukegan basement, and Guruji, Nishkam Swami was talking in a Mahima, Mahima is again, Yoganistha, Akshar Vihari Swami just stopped him and says that you are talking about Mahima, but in that Mahima there is a Mahima. He was talking about Kakaji, મહિમાની અંદર અમહિમા ના આવી જાય તમારે બહુ જાણવાનું. You have to be very careful when you glorify somebody with Mahima. You are not putting a Mahima somehow, So those are the, other parts of Yoganistha, Now Gunatitanand Swami in chapter 1 last what has concluded all that in a very nice way. So both Sankhyanistha and Yoganistha are manifested, And he starts out with Yoganistha. No, sorry, he starts out with Sankhyanistha. હું આત્મા છું, હું અક્ષર છું, હું બ્રહ્મ છું. What is that saying, That you have detached from everything to attach to God by saying, હું આત્મા છું, હું અક્ષર છું, હું બ્રહ્મ છું. When you have that consciousness, when you have that level, then the other attachments of the world and other attachments of your subconscious will drop. And after mastering the Sankhyanistha, now you are saying that God is reside in me, is within me. Now I have become Akshar or Brahm, and now God is residing in me, and how the God is now, the glory of God is Yoganistha. That God is omniscient, omnipotent. So now that part will again take a soul first with the Sankhyanistha to the highest level, Akshar, right? Akshar is the highest level, right? So everything is dropped out. But even at that level, there is no ego ride, there is no siddha, level, but there is humble of the humblest level by this other નિષ્ઠા, કે મારી અંદર મહારાજ બિરાજમાન છે. કેવા છે? સર્વ અવતારના અવતારી, સર્વોપરી, સર્વ કારણના કારણ. So compared to that, I am nothing again, I am so big, I am so great as Akshar. But then, compared to Purushottam, I am again minute. That is how the God is, So first you achieve to the highest and then tune on the God, which is beyond and beyond, એ ટાઈપની જો નિષ્ઠા ભેગી થાય તો સ્વામી કહે છે કે સાંખ્ય અને યોગ બે માસ્ટર થઈ જાય. કારણ કે સાંખ્ય નિષ્ઠાની અંદર બી આ પ્રોબ્લેમ છે, યુ એલિવેટ યોર સેલ્ફ, ટુ ધી અક્ષર રૂપ, અક્ષર લેવલ. પછી તમને એમ થાય કે ભાઈ જે કંઈ કરવું એ કરો ને, આપણે શું છે, આપણને કંઈ લાગે વરગતું નથી, અક્ષરને કોઈ દોષ નથી, અક્ષરને કાંઈ નથી. પણ જો એવો અતિશય મહિમા ના સમજ્યા હોય ભગવાનનો, તો બીજી કોઈક વસ્તુમાં માલવાનું મન થઈ જાય, બીજી કોઈ વસ્તુ આપણને વાલી થઈ જાય. તમે એમ વિચાર કર્યો કે મારે કંઈક ખરાબ કરવું છે, પણ હું બ્રહ્મરૂપ છું, મને કંઈ વાંધો નથી, એ ખરાબ તમને વધારે ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ લાગ્યું ને, રાઈટ? That wrong thing is more important to you than God, right? So that is a drawback in Sankhya. But in this Vachanamrut, Swaminarayan Bhagavan has not shown the drawback in Sankhya. Is Muktanand Swami himself also has love and affection, nature more than anybody else. હાજી સીએમ જય સ્વામિનારાયણ પ્રભુ. હાજી કેમ છો? હાજી તે દિવસ બુધવારે પછી તમારા દર્શન નહીં થયા.